Hello and welcome to Nosotros, the podcast about all things San Antonian and South Texan. And this time, it's only September, but we're already talking fiesta. And with us today is John McFadden Sr., not Junior, Senior, who is Rey Feo 75. This is the big diamond jubilee for Rey Feo. And he's got a very, very interesting, touching story to tell us today. I'll tell you that he's a successful businessman, that he's been a military pilot in the Air Force, that he also has, he's worked for United Airlines for many years. He's owned several very successful businesses that we'll talk about in brief later. And he is working on his PhD in Christian counseling. And you'll talk about that too. Welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we can't show the video I really want to show because we don't have permission. But it's a wonderful video of a kid at one of the schools that Rey Feo visited. And he is so excited, beyond excited. He is he's lit up.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
And you sent it to me via text this morning. That's how I got up. And it's a great wake-up call. Talk about that little kid and why you watch it so often.
Well, so I was on Rey Feo 73, Augie Cortez. I was on his court.
Good guy.
And he's a great guy. And as soon as you go to the very first school visit, you just get hooked. It's the adrenaline. These kids are just en fuego. They are crazy. If you go to reyfeo75.org, there's a scrolling video script, if you will, of all the school visits. A lot of people think that they see Rey Feo during Fiesta, and they think that we're just there for 10 days for the party with the purpose. And they don't realize that by the time you get to Fiesta, we have been working our tail off for almost 2 years raising money for scholarships.
You're exhausted already.
No comment. That was off the record. But whenever you get tired or you get exhausted, we do events almost every single day, but you watch one of these videos. So we're going to go to 100 schools starting in January, February, and March. We'll go to 100 schools where we'll actually see 78,000 students in underserved, mostly neighborhoods, delivering our message of hope and resilience and stay in school and stay out of trouble. And we'll be there to help you when you get out. I mean, when you graduate, that's the only thing we do. We are here to raise money to help kids get some form of higher education post high school, and it's a lot of work. But you just look at you are going to go to at least one school visit with me this year, and I'll tell you what, you'll be hooked. Well, this little boy, I'm so sorry we can't share this little video with you, but this little guy is so excited that Rey Feo is visiting his school, and I can see why you play it over and over on your phone when you need a little bit more energy. He delivers the energy. All the kids do, and maybe it's Rey Feo, maybe it's because they got out of history class for 30 minutes to come to the auditorium and see anybody, but we'll pretend it's for
Rey Feo.
Well, or for the team.
Before we get into more of Rey Feo, I found your story, your origin story, and what got you to San Antonio fascinating. And I have to tell the audience too that I've interviewed a lot of Rey Feos in my time at the Express News, and I've never heard someone so forthcoming and so open about their own personal origin story. So I'd first like to talk a little bit about where you were born and what got you to San Antonio to begin with, and tell that story of ending up in San Antonio.
Well, born and raised in St. Louis. I went to grade school at St. Magella Catholic Church, and it could have been what you would call a storybook upbringing, but like most people out there, I think we live in a kind of a rattled, frazzled world right now because we get so caught up on how you and I are different, when in reality we were both made in God's image, and I wish we spent more time looking at how we're the same. So it looked like it should have been nice, right? My dad was a surgeon. My mom was a debutante. We lived in a nice neighborhood. Everything's just nice. But you just sometimes don't know what goes on behind closed door. My dad was a workaholic. My mom was an alcoholic. There was no one really there to oversee any of us or what was going on. And it just, the home front was very, I'll just say, dark and chaotic. And it kind of also left me open, set me up for a predator in the neighborhood. So I'll just sum it up that my childhood was mostly filled with verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. And I could not wait to get out of my house as fast as I could. I ran off to the University of Missouri. I got a degree in biology from the University of Missouri, and met the love of my life there, Leslie.
Because you were both cheerleaders on different teams.
Well, we ended up cheering for the same team. We met at a basketball game in February of 1982, 8:05 p.m. I laid eyes on her, and I was just like, oh, my goodness gracious, the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh, God, she is.
Yeah, see, I can't. If I open my eyes, I'm blinded by her beauty. So all my pictures, my eyes are closed. And I literally, by 11 o'clock that night, I asked her to marry me. And she said no, because she was engaged to somebody else that she'd been dating for 6 years.
Wow, you broke that up.
I don't look at it that way. I look at it as just some details that needed to be figured out.
That's right. And you have now been married?
40 years.
Wow,
by the grace of God.
Congratulations.
She put up with me.
But I also wanted to hear the story because it's so common that people in some form in the military get stationed, get training in San Antonio, and then that's it.
We graduated from Mizzou on May the 15th, 1983. We got married May the 28th, and on June the 21st, I was sitting in the San Antonio airport on the floor, like all these kids are, that I see. Now I come back from a trip with United, and I'll see all these kids lined up on the floor, and I always stop. And I tell them, because, you got to be tough, right? You're going into the military, you're going to, and I was scared to death. And I know these kids are scared to death. I always stop and I tell them, guys, listen to me. It was the fastest, best 22 years of my life. Tomorrow, you're not going to be very happy with the haircut that you have, but it will grow out. Mm-hmm. Just stick it out.
I was amazed to hear how quickly you learned to fly, because you were in San Antonio for that purpose. You were going to learn to fly.
Correct. So if you do not have a private pilot's license when you join you join the Air Force to go to pilot training. If you don't have a private pilot's license, then they have a flight screening program that they'll put you through in a Cessna 172. And it's back in the day, it was semi-brutal. We had 40 officer trainees that were showing up for this. They put us up in the Medina Annex at Lackland, and they bussed us to Hondo every single day.
To fly.
To fly. And you have they gave us five sorties, 5 rides, and then we had to solo, and then they gave us a couple of more rides, and then we had to have a check ride. And we lost over 50% of the
not because they crashed, but because they
washed out.
They washed out.
They couldn't solo in 5 rides, so they're gone.
5 rides doesn't seem like enough time, but That's the way they do it, I guess.
It depends on which side of the washout you fall. So,
Well, I'm glad you made it. And it led to a long career in the military and then at United.
well, and so straight from flight screening into the officers training program at Medina. So I was here from June until the end of October, and just absolutely fell in love with San Antonio that very first time. So I was ecstatic when I was able to finally get back to live in San Antonio in 1991.
And that's what happens to a lot of you that end up back here.
Love it. Oh, we're not going anywhere else. We've been here since for over 30 years now, and it's our home. Even when I was stationed here and got stationed somewhere else, my family stayed here, and I commuted to Del Rio instead of moving my family down there because they were settled here, and San Antonio is home.
It was probably natural for you to end up at a commercial airliner, but probably not as natural to end up in business. And your first business was winemaking, which you can tell us about, and then tell us about the laboratory now that you run.
So September 11th happened. United furloughed thousands of people. So I was furloughed in October, right after 9/11. I was recalled to active duty to fly T-38s at Randolph for a 3-year controlled tour. And so I had 3 years of security, if you will, thanks to the military, which I'm very, very thankful for. A year prior to retiring from the Air Force, at the end of that 3 years, I had to start looking for something that I was going to do because United was in bankruptcy. Wasn't really sure if they were going to even survive, but we were still furloughed. We weren't being recalled. I had to find something to do. So we looked at probably over 60 different business opportunities, didn't like any of them. And then we basically landed on this, the idea of opening up a winery, sourcing the must or the crushed grapes from all over the world. And that's what we did.
And where did you?
With a Home Depot card, with a $8,000 credit limit Home Depot card, we built out the winery at West Avenue and Northwest Military.
And you made the wine there.
We made the wine there.
And do you still have any wine? Or did y'all drink it all?
Well, the nice thing about, we called it water to wine, water with the number 2 wine. And I figured it was Jesus' first miracle, good enough for him, good enough for us. I figured his was probably a little bit better, and he made it a little bit quicker. But
yeah, except that I've read about the wine in those times. Wasn't that good?
Well, I think he actually got pretty good reviews for the ones that he.
Okay, all right.
He got a pretty good reviews. It documented for eternity in the Bible. You saved the best wine for last. So, all that to say that since we didn't ship it anywhere and we didn't sell it commercially outside of the winery, we didn't have to add all the additives to ship it.
See. Uh-huh.
So significantly lower in sulfites and just a much cleaner a wine. So the wines were only designed to last for 3 to 5 years. Yeah, we sold the whole thing over 10 years ago. So we don't have anything left.
And you created, or you went into another business really to keep your daughter and her husband, or his future husband in San Antonio. I love this story. Tell it.
Well, since they may be watching this, I've got to be careful how I say this. Let's just say that there was a good opportunity for my daughter and her fiance to go to a different city to work in a laboratory, medical management field. I happened to cross an opportunity to where we could create a laboratory here in San Antonio, hire him to help us with that. And I am very unashamed to say that my daughter, my son-in-law, and my 3 grandchildren now live 3 minutes up the road from us. And
so the name of this laboratory is ADL Health, Advanced Diagnostic Laboratory.
Advanced Diagnostic Laboratory.
Congratulations.
Medical, we do medical testing for doctors' offices. And if there's any doctors listening, 10% of the proceeds of all San Antonio testing goes to the Ray Feo Scholarship Program. So
Wonderful.
if you would like to have superior customer service, turnaround, and expertise and give back to the local community, you can find us very easily online.
Okay. Back to Ray Feo then.
I got to plug in.
Yeah. Oh, you've got lots of plugs to give. Okay. So Ray Feo, how did you first get involved? And why? Why did this fit into your overall plan to give back?
Well, based on the wounds of my childhood, you try to manage your whole life, right? You try to keep all those plates spinning under your own power. About 15 years ago, I could no longer manage those wounds on my own, and ended up having to get some personal help, and help from me, help from my wife, help for our marriage, help for our family. Came out of that, went back to Wayland Baptist and used my GI Bill. Thank you, military. To get my master's in counseling. And we do a lot of stuff at the church. Tonight we'll be doing a marriage group out at Community Bible Church. And
does this have something to do with Open Hearts?
Open Hearts Ministry was where I got my greatest healing. It specializes in helping people work through the wounds of their childhood. And so Open Hearts is a program that's offered in many churches, literally all around the world. We have groups now that meet in China, in Iraq, Iran, India, all in places where you would never expect. I mean, as a ministry, we were invited by the Chinese government to actually set up groups and do training in China. So it's a powerful ministry. Open Hearts Ministry, ohmin.org. I'm on, full disclosure, I'm now on the board of directors of that. But as far as Ray Feo goes, anything that I can do to give back or to help is my responsibility, right? So probably now about 10, 12 years ago, we got involved in the Fiesta Commission. We were on the host committee. I ended up being, an elected commissioner on the Fiesta Commission. And the year that Fernando Reyes was president of the Fiesta Commission, I was on the host committee, and he was like, "Hey, John, why don't you go with me tomorrow on a school visit?"
Oh, that's how they get you.
Oh, boy. And so I rode with him and went to a school visit, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at these kids. I mean, how can you not be? I get goosebumps even thinking about it. And he kind of chuckled. And so I think Fernando and Norma Reyes, just tremendous givers to the community. And he got me involved in the Consejo organization, the Ray Feo Consejo Educational Foundation. They're the group that kind of support the money raising and help with the Ray Feo, the king. And we just had a Consejo golf tournament yesterday, and they raised enough money for 40 more scholarships. So it's a year-long thing. The Consejos, I've been involved with them for over 10 years, starting with the reign of Bill Drain, which is a while ago. And that organization supports the Ray Feo. Somehow they decided they wanted me to be Ray Feo, and I said yes. So, and we talked about this. I mean, we're in the middle of the work, right? I mean, our team, we have we put together what we call a court, right? So we've got a prime minister, Allison Reyes, which is Fernando and Norma's daughter.
Oh, yes.
And she was La Reina de la Feria de las Flores as well. John Fristo's the executive. He's a retired Army 06. His wife, Carrie Fristo, retired Army 06. She's an education minister. Ronnie Suarez owns Integrity Roofing, and he's the admin. Maria Ramirez owns Last Straw Florist. She's our events minister. Abe Luna, who's transportation and day minister. Jeff Carlson Flooring, our night minister. And if I don't get them all, I'm going to be in trouble. So Ernie Zuniga, our communication. Oh my gosh, love Ernie Zuniga. Ernie Zuniga is the most authentic, giving man I have ever met in my entire life.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Justin Rodriguez is our state minister. And I'm going to be in real trouble.
Oh, don't sweat it. They'll give you a pass if you can't remember all of them.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. They're so lovely.
Yolanda Valenzuela,
yes,
Kim's Angels,
course.
is our Minister of Philanthropy.
Oh, which reminds me, you got a nice big check from Kim's Angels.
Kim Rapier, she has just blown us away. She is the most generous, craziest person on the face of the earth. As she saw, she took a shining to what we were doing. We've been working with Blessed Angels, doing a lot of stuff out there. I've fallen in love with all the elders out at Blessed Angels, and got to know of them through that work. But for whatever reason, they were supposed to give they committed to giving us a $100,000 donation, which blew us away.
But she wrote it for
tenfold. It came in at $1 million, and we'll talk about something else very quickly, or I'll start crying again. Our goal was to raise $1 million.
So you've already met it, and you're going to likely raise how much more?
More.
Okay, just more for now.
When people think that you've hit your goal, they stop either working or giving. As soon as that $100,000 became $1 million and we hit our goal, I instantly got the entire group back onto Zoom with Colonel Chris Medley, retired 06, our military minister, involved with that as well.
We just remembered somebody else.
Chris and Liz Medley were stationed with us at RAF Bentwaters in 1985. And have been our dearest friends for going on almost 40 years. So that would have been a real hard one. That pass that you talked about would have been a long time coming. Okay. So I got them all on Zoom, and we're like, hey guys, before this hits the media, we got to let you know that goal you thought I was crazy about setting. Well, we hit it. And of course, one of the guys, who I'm not going to say, goes, good, we can cancel all the events we got going on.
No.
And I was like, time out. If we put a plan together to raise $1 million, and we're going to work that plan.
So that sounds like at least another $1 million to me. Okay.
Out of your mouth to God's ears.
And what's interesting about I don't know if this has happened before or you instituted it, and that was the creation of scholarships to trade schools, as well as those students trying to finish up an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, or something else. So talk a little bit about that.
So this year's the first year that the Scholarship Foundation has opened up to not just 4-year degrees, but 2-year degrees and trade schools, because I also noticed going through the 76 visits that Augie did, that not every kid sitting in that auditorium is wired or wants to get a 4-year degree. And 2-year degrees and trade schools, we need trades. And if our goal is to, the way we can really lead turn some abusive situations is by giving a hand up and increasing, pulling people up socioeconomically, giving them a good trade, giving them a good education so they can get a trade, or they can get a profession where they can make,
or a paraprofessional,
absolutely, to where they can earn a decent living wage and take a lot of pressure off of the family and the living situation. you get somebody from Jefferson High School, a journeyman's license as an electrician, and that family is going to be set for life. And that's also why we're really going to be linking arms with the military as well. Those aren't the only three. You join the military and you're going to go right over here to Lackland Air Force Base for 6 weeks of education. Some of it not exactly what you want, but it's going to be great education. From there, they send you to Sheppard Air Force Base for another 6 months of education. So the military is a great way to get an education. Trade schools are a great way to get an education. 4-year, 2-year, all great ways of getting education. And I think that's what the mission statement says is, through education is how we're going to give the hand up, not just a hand out. And I think it's important for all four.
You're not dressed like other Reyfeos when they do interviews, and that's because you haven't yet been anointed. I don't know what the term is. Crowned. Okay, so talk a little bit about the crest that's on your shirt. I've seen you wear that several times now, and you and your family designed that. I'm assuming.
My wife and I designed this. So the eagle, when the Army Air Corps became the Air Force, this eagle was the original emblem of the Air Force, the very first one. It had like stuff in its claws. We got rid of that. So, but the actual eagle itself is from the very first emblem for the Air Force. The Diamond Jubilee, obviously, is our 75th year.
Big year. It's
a big year, and it's really only big. And we talked about this a little bit as well. I 3 years from now, no one's going to remember really John McFadden. That we borrow the Reyfeo brand for 1 year. And we try to raise as much money and effect as much change and do as much good as we can for as many 501c3s as we can. And then we give it back, hopefully in a little better shape than when we got it. And so I really wanted it to make the whole about not me, but about the Diamond Jubilee team, that the Queens having one team work together. You'll see we have things in our crests and our crowns that tie us together as a team. And so I've got the Diamond Jubilee team up here, Reyfeo. But so the cross with nails, obviously, is for my Christian faith. The diamonds in the middle. The cabrito, the top left, is the symbol of the Reyfeo and the Consejo organizations. Top right, the lamp of knowledge for education. Bottom left is my military command pilot and United for my career, if you will. And then the Open Hearts logo and a Bible with our marriage rings on top of it for our marriage ministry and the things that we kind of hold near and dear to our heart. The very first crest didn't even have McFadden on it.
Oh, somebody had to remind you. You should probably do that.
And they were like, I told them, leave it off. I said, because it's nothing to do with me. It's about the kids. And a couple of people said, dude, you got to put your name on there. So I had them put it on there as small as they could. Hopefully you can't read it from there.
A lot of money will be raised, and a lot of kids and their educational careers will be affected. Have you got an idea how many scholarships your fundraising will provide? How many kids you will affect?
We have goals. So this year we gave out roughly 167 scholarships. And because of the fundraising that Larry Kurth and I did, the foundation was able to, when they were given out, they surprised the kids by doubling them. So instead of getting, they got double what they thought they were going to get.
Okay.
So we gave out over 160 scholarships that we were able to double, plus 40 trade school scholarships that will be given out through ACC or St. Philip's. Next year, my goal is to hand out 400 scholarships and 100 trade school scholarships, and leave the program in a position to where going forward, that would be the minimum, and hopefully we can grow it from there.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here, but I think it would be nice for you to talk a little bit about your PhD in counseling and how that's part of the work that you and your wife do for people interested in improving their marriages.
Well, we know what PhD stands for.
What does that stand for, John?
Well, everybody knows what BS stands for.
Okay.
And MS is more of the same, and then PhD is piled higher and deeper. So letters behind the name don't really mean anything, but it does give me the opportunity to do some things in some arenas that I wouldn't have. So I'm doing it because I feel like I kind of have to, but the ministry itself doesn't come from letters. I think it comes from being grounded in a faith that there is a God. It is not me, and that if I'm going to just open myself up to be used for His purposes, that's kind of goes back to our court, the verse that we're structuring everything from, Matthew 5:16. Which is, let your light so shine in front of men that your deeds glorify your Father in heaven. So if you look at anything that we do, it says, let your light shine. Well, it all kind of goes back, I think, the foundation of the marriage. Getting marriages, strengthening marriages, keeping marriages together, I think is instrumental to preserving and protecting the family and having a safe environment to raise children, if you will. So the enemy does not like my marriage. If God created us in His image, male and female, and it's when we leave our mother and father and cleave and become one flesh, it's the cleaving of Leslie and I that put all the most attributes of God together in one form. And I think the enemy hates that. And so the enemy, his number one target list is marriages. And if we can do anything to help strengthen a marriage, I think that helps with Open Hearts. I think it helps with the Refeo, the Consejos, education. They all go hand in hand to help strengthen our community and make our community a better place for my grandson to grow up in.
And there's 4 grandchildren, or there soon will be the 4th.
One in the oven.
Okay. So, like I said, very unlike other Refeos, but I know you're going to have loads of fun too.
We like to have fun. If you're going to work hard, you get to play hard.
Well, thank you so much for being on Nosotros, and have a fabulous fiesta.
Muchas gracias por esta oportunidad y un otro tiempo es posible para hablar en español también.
Okay, bueno, cuando tú quieras.
Todavía.
Okay, ¿y dónde aprendiste el español?
Tengo 4 años de español en la Universidad de Missouri, pero no uso para 40 años y me olvidé mucho.
Lo que tienes que hacer es como yo. El jueves me voy a México, la Ciudad de México, y tienes que ir. Es donde puedes practicar mejor.
Cuando vive en San Antonio es importante para hablar español, pero es muy difícil. Porque muchas personas allí hablan Tex-Mex.
Sí, y ese es otro, Spanglish es otro idioma. Y Spanglish también es un lenguaje muy linda. Así es que yo hablo inglés, español y Spanglish.
Yeah. Sí,
and my Spanglish is probably the best.
Yeah, well, necesito practicar mi español. Es muy malo.
Yes, go to Mexico City.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going in a few days. I'm so excited.
Do you need someone to carry your bags?
Yes, I do. Please come along.
Sorry, Leslie, you'll have to understand.
Thank you so much for being on the program.
Muchas gracias y vaya con Dios.
Gracias.